Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the community meeting. We apologize, had some technical issues, so thank you for hanging with us. This is community meeting for the Palisades fire for Sunday, January 12th, 2025. My name is Thomas Schutz, Public Information Officer for the Palisades incident, and we're going to go ahead and kick it right to operations for a briefing of the fire.
Good evening, Christian Litz with my partner Landon Hack. We are Operations Section Chiefs for the Palisades Fire. Talking about aircraft, I'll start there. We did utilize aircraft today to go ahead and secure our edges and support the ground troops that we have out there. Just a little fun fact out there, we've flown with 9,500 gallons of retardant with the helicopters that we used from last night until today. So that's a pretty substantial number to secure those edges for us. So talking about the fire, I'm going to go the right half of the fire from the Topanga side to the right of the map here. So it looks really good. We still have resources going all along the fire's edge, securing that edge using mop-up techniques to get deeper and deeper in to secure that to limit any probability of any kind of escape that we have all around the perimeter on the top half of the fire So we're looking at Topanga Oaks area, the Sylvia Park area, up the ridge system there, which is Temescal Road system, up top to Dirt Mulholland and down. Everything's looking good, but we're staying vigilant because we know that there's heat sources in there. We saw IR flight capabilities, and we use that to find those heat seeks. We did have a few points of isolated heat sources, and we're out there with resources on the ground, making sure that we get in there and make sure we put that out. Again, with the upcoming winds, we're being extra vigilant out there. Coming down Mandeville Canyon, the fire is still holding to that Mandeville Fire Road, or the Mandeville Canyon Road, and resources are still in there behind the structures, doing techniques that they can, cutting away the brush, clearing the brush, using their hand tools, mixing it with water to make sure that there's no heat sources behind those structures, and again, securing that edge and keeping it where it is. Coming down the West Ridge area and the Riviera down to Pacific Palisades where those structures are, resources are still in there. Everywhere around where we had structure damage and behind those structures, making sure that we limit any kind of adverse fire effect and damage to those structures that we have in there. Coming around the bottom to Pacific Palisades and the Castlemare area, Temescal Canyon, Palisades Drive, coming back to Topanga Canyon. We have resources getting as deep as we can, working through all those structures and mitigating any kind of heat sources, focusing on the standing structures and working around them, making sure, again, that no heat source can get to those structures and cause any unwanted damage.
All right, continuing up the coast through Topanga Beach, Las Flores, up towards Malibu Canyon. Along the coast, along the highway here, a lot of work is being done, same as on the other side, getting into the structures that are up off of the coast in the mountain areas up there, and a lot of those windy roads that are going up there. So they're continuing to work around those structures, clear vegetation from them, and make sure that the structures that have been undamaged are going to still not be damaged. They're going to clear the vegetation away, put out hot spots, and make sure those are all secure. Something else that's going along on the PCH is infrastructure starting to be repaired. So there's poles being set, communications stuff. The power companies and utility companies are starting to surge that workforce in there, so that's good stuff. Coming over here, going up towards Montanito, this line that's black in here is secured. We're very confident that that's not going to move over further up the coastline that way. Coming in Montanito, continued hand line and dozer line reinforced with aircraft and retardant. Continues putting the lines together. It gets into some rock outcroppings up there where we got to put line into the rock outcroppings, skip around them to the other side, make sure there's no vegetation in those rock outcroppings that's going to allow fire to get through them. And then they continue on putting that perimeter of the fire down. A lot of good work up in there. It's secure. This hasn't moved today, which is very good news. And so they're able to get in there and continue to mop up, put those hot spots out, and push the heat that's up against the line deeper into the burn here. Going up across the top all the way over to Fernwood, this is got line and pieces of it. There's areas where they really have to do some work on backside of that ridge is pretty steep on both sides. So there's a lot of work being done in there. Again, the road system up here, something else that we're dealing with is the equipment is able to get in, they work for the day, and by the time they come out, a lot of the rock walls and banks and cut banks and stuff slide out during the day because of the lack of vegetation that's normally holding them up. So we run some blade trucks through there, scrape that stuff off. So it's kind of a constant project up there, but it does slow down some progress. Over in Fernwood, this piece of line down in here on the southern edge comes up against the structures, and that line is in direct on the fire's edge. It's hand line cut by crews, and then there's hose lay in there as well, and they're flowing water in there, putting out all the hot spots in here, and gaining that depth further away, pushing any heat signatures back away from the structures and the fire's edge. Oh, one more thing I was going to talk about. Something else that we're doing with the upcoming wind event that's starting and going through the next few days, we're standing up some structure protection groups that are going to be strategically placed in a couple locations over the top of the fire. And what that's going to consist of is strike teams of engines, which is 5 engines of the same type with a leader. They're going to be grouped up. They're going to have another person that leads all of them. So there'll be strike teams of engines, hand crews, and bulldozers all grouped together. We'll utilize them for anything that happens in the event that something comes up on our fire, but we're also utilizing them for initial attack outside of our fire incident to help keep any new fires that pop up small.
Next up, our incident meteorologists with a fire discussion.
All right, good evening, everybody. Rich Thompson, incident meteorologist with the National Weather Service, assigned to the Palisades incident. Weather-wise, big story is red flag warning. We still have a red flag warning in effect for this area until 6 p.m. Wednesday evening. What that means, we have the expectation of widespread critical fire weather conditions across the fire. Next couple days, that means north-northeast winds gusting anywhere from 35 to 55 miles per hour. And those winds will probably be strongest on Tuesday morning. Along with those gusty north-northeast winds, you're going to have very low humidities, generally in the teens, and maybe even some single digits by Wednesday, so very dry out there. And combine that with the very critically dry fuels, gives you a recipe for critical conditions, and hence why we have the red flag warning in effect till 6 p.m. Wednesday. Now going into Thursday, things start transitioning. We get out of that kind of Santa Ana wind pattern and start getting back to kind of more typical sea breeze onshore type of pattern. And that'll take us through the weekend. So actually for this weekend, things are looking much cooler, higher humidities, just your typical sea breeze sort of winds and so forth. So overall, we'll definitely at least get a few days break from these Santa Anas by Thursday, Friday into the weekend.
Next up, LA Fire Department.
Good evening, everybody. Joe Everett, Assistant Chief, Los Angeles City Fire Department, part of the Unified Command team running this fire here. I just want to say last night we had a actual town hall type meeting where I got to meet some of the amazing neighbors of the Pacific Palisades. And I'm so proud of the people and what the resiliency they've shown to me already. And I think it's just evidently true that bond that I know that I've created and we're going to continue to create, we're going to get this through together. So that being said, we just heard our weather person talk about the critical fire weather that's coming up. So we're not through with this yet. So from me here on the city side, stick with me. We need to get through this. I know it's frustrating. I know you want to get back in your houses, and we're coming up with plans to do that. But we keep getting stalled by Mother Nature. So keep that in mind. And when I'm not dealing with that firefighting side of things, I got you in my heart, so I'm trying to get you back to what you need to do. So let's kind of keep this one team concept going, and we'll get through it. And let's not forget our partners over in Malibu. I'm unified with Los Angeles County Fire and CAL FIRE, and we're all working here for you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Quick reminder that folks can put questions in the chat, and we're going to do our best to answer as many as possible at the end of this. Any questions that we don't get to, we're going to put together and put out in a fact sheet on our social media tomorrow. Next up, LA County Sheriff.
Good evening. Captain Andrew Cruz, the incident commander for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Incident Management Team, night side. We continue to support the efforts here at the Palisades Fire with 104 sworn personnel plus 16 National Guard soldiers. Our missions remain to staff hard closures and traffic control points, roving security, welfare checks, and escorts for essential services. The curfew does remain in effect from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and this is to enhance public safety and to protect property. I will report that last night we did have one arrest for the curfew, a gentleman who was in the zone and refused to be, did cooperate with the deputies and ultimately was arrested. I will say that the sheriff does ask that the public remain vigilant in regards to scams. There are a lot of them going around in regards to short-term rentals and GoFundMe pages. So we ask that you remain vigilant when it comes to offers. Thank you.
Next up, LA County Fire.
Good evening, Robert Harris, Unified Commander at LA County Fire. We just want to thank the community first and foremost for just the show of support. I've visited several of our firefighters and our fire stations during this siege, and they just cannot overstate the community's support for our efforts. So we just want to say thank you. Your LA County Fire Department is leaning forward and continue to prepare and plan for the oncoming wind event. We have not reduced our staffing footprint here since the beginning of this firefight. We continue to have over 1,400 members that are committed to this firefight, and we are continuing to be vigilant in preparing to get you back into your homes. So we thank you for just your patience as we continue to plan, and that is at the top of our minds to get you back home as soon as possible. But we continue to just ask you for your patience as we do that, because your safety is our #1 priority. Thank you.
Next up, LAPD.
I'm Captain Mike Lorenz with the Los Angeles Police Department. I'll be your incident commander for the evening hours, what we call B-Watch for LAPD. That'll be from 6 p.m. to 6 in the morning. LAPD is very appreciative of all the support from the community members, even from throughout the city, and also the support for the first responders. Our hearts definitely go out to all of those who lost their homes and have family members and any type of nexus to the burn site. The burn site continues to be evacuated at this point. The only time LAPD is going inside there is to do welfare checks or to look for any of those who are trespassing or looting. From what the reports that I'm getting is that we're detaining people hourly. So every hour we're detaining at least 1 to 2 people that are inside the area that should not be there, or we're trying to vet them out whether they are private security and they got approval from LAPD. And also this area still remains unsafe. There's still an active investigation. We have not ran cadaver dogs through this area. We have agencies that are going to be doing that in the near future. And also there's down power lines and a lot of debris where you can get injured. LAPD's role in all this is to continue traffic control, continue to push pedestrian traffic around the burn site, and obviously any type of welfare checks like I had mentioned. One of the questions that came through are, what are you doing about the drones? We are utilizing some of our federal partners to handle the drones. From what I know is that you will be arrested on site, and our DA's office is on board with prosecution regarding the drones. The drones affect all of the aircraft then in an area. The aircraft needs to stop or cease what they're doing because the drones are up, and it creates a very immense safety hazard. But I do appreciate everybody's patience in all this, And if you do have any questions while you're out in the field, speak to an officer, ask for a supervisor, and they will give you the best answer possible. But we would like to keep everybody outside of the evacuated site. And also, we have repopulated some areas on the northern end, and I'll go ahead and read them off to you. And the reason why LAPD repopulated is that way we are aligned with CAL FIRE's response on all this. So fire sectors that have been repopulated is going to be 764, 762B, 1089, 1163, and 779. And if you'd like to get information on which areas are to be repopulated or which areas are evacuated, go to the protect.genesis.com, and Genesis is spelled GENASYS, or go to the CAL FIRE website.
Thank you, sir. And we do have some additional questions as well. So we're going to bring up the appropriate answer. They're going to read out the question and then give the answer.
Hello again, Christian Litz, operations. So first question, what does containment mean? So if we look on the map and you see black line around, that is where we are considering it to be contained. Containment means we are 100% sure in that area the fire will not have an escape, meaning it will not cross the line and have any substantial or any growth at all where that black line is. So we have contained that fire and controlled it. What direction is the wind pushing the fire? So during Santa Ana events, you're looking at a wind that is north, northeast, west, which our IMET has replied to us. So a couple things about wind, good and bad. The bad part is about when the wind is a high velocity wind, it has that ability to push the fire with extreme fire growth, especially in the fuel bed that we have. Live fuel moistures are very low. Like tinderbox allows it to ignite quick and move quickly. However, when a wind is in a Santa Ana wind event and it is blowing in a direction that we know is going to sustain, it makes it better to predict where the fire is going to grow, except for when the fire is shielded from the wind and it moves with topography, and then it will blow in that direction. What that allows us to do is really prepare and put resources in the appropriate places that we can be the most effective in attacking that fire and keeping it in where we want it to be, and keeping the new fires as small as possible because we know exactly where it's going to go. A couple questions on the north side of the fire. What is happening on the north end of the fire by Encino? And then another question is, will this fire affect the San Fernando Valley? So those are two in the same. So the San Fernando Valley is on the north end of the fire along the 101, and Encino also marries up with those same communities. So will the fire affect it? The good thing about a wind coming from the north-northeast, it's starting from the top side of the map, pushing down to the bottom side of the map. That means if anything happens, it's going to push into the ocean, same footprint. So what we like to say, it's going to be wind tested, yes, but along that you see the north edge of the fire, the top side is going to push right into where the burn scar is, where it's already burned, where there's no fuel, so it's going to push in. We just have to stay diligent and resources in, so if there's nothing else that can happen, it's still going to push into the black, but we can still attack it. We still have the resources available, the aircraft, the fixed wing, the rotorcraft, and then, as always, we use drone technology to help us pinpoint the heat. This question, do we need to wear an N95? So right now you don't see the smoke in the air. There is no need to wear an N95 as long as you're outside of the smoke and outside of any area that you're in with ash. Yes, if you come into where there's finer dust or there is ash in the area for whatever reason that is, it is not a bad idea to put an N95 in to filter out those particles so they don't get inside your lungs and cause any damage to you. My partner will have a few more questions for you.
All right. So the first question I have is what out of states are assisting you, and what other countries are helping? So what I know for right now today is we have resources here from Oregon, Utah, Montana, Washington, and Nevada. And then as far as countries go, we have We have some folks in camp assisting us that are actually, we're going to have come out with us tomorrow from Canada. And then we have some firefighters as well from Mexico that are helping us out. The next question is there a risk to Montanito? So, yes, and I'm going to explain that hopefully by answering the next question, which is show us on the fire where the head of the fire is on the map. So back to talking about the wind, right? So the wind is what pushes the head of the fire when it overpowers the topography, which is slope, because it generally wants to go up slope. So when the wind is overpowering the topography, it drives the head of the fire in the direction that the wind is blowing, right? So going back to our Santa Ana event, wind is coming down out of the north. It does tend to slide to the northeast. It can go to the northwest. It varies from hour to hour, from minute to minute, but generally it's coming out of the north with this event. In this incident, that wind pushed the head of the fire down to the Pacific Ocean. So right now there's truly no defined head of the fire because it has run into here and has ran out of fuel as far as making hard push. What does occur is when that wind lightens up, like it had the last few days, some of the topography features up here will allow the fire to go the other direction because the wind is not overpowering the topography, right? So that you can't really see it on the map, but if anybody's familiar with that area, there's lots of drainages, lots of ridges. So the fire will move and make small, what we call head runs, that will come up into those drainages and kind of work its way out. When that occurs and it gets out past where it's already burned, the risk is that when that Santa Ana event happens again, as is coming up, that it can then pass where it had already burned, right? So in this instance right here, there is risk to Montanito on a northeast wind if the fire is up anywhere above it where it can get into these drainages and get around. And as I explained earlier, right now, this does have almost completed line around it, and the hot spots have been, we're continuously pushing this back away so that it can't do that. So yes, there is a risk. We're very confident in the line we have, but again, the winds change. Even in these strong wind events, we will have fluctuation in direction that makes us chase it around a little bit. Hopefully that answered that for you. Good.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for this virtual meeting. We will be doing this again tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Please check fire.ca.gov for more information on the Palisades fire in the meantime, and it has links to all our great partners as well. Thank you and have a great night.